After months watching the garden grow during winter and flourishing during spring, it was time to say goodbye to the old and get ready to welcome the new season. I'm Eugenia, and together with my husband Pepe and our 2 pets, we live in a tiny village in the mountains of Portugal. We moved here 1.5 years ago, with a dream to live closer to nature and be more in tune with the seasons. During this time, we have been building what is now our off-grid home, started growing our own food, and are building our future art studio. Something that I have learned this past year is to always celebrate and cherish the changes that comes with the seasons, in this journey to live off the land. At the beginning of the year, I decided to plant broad beans in the garden beds that gave us more production this last summer and were most likely depleted in nutrients, since broad beans add nutrients to the soil. The first time that I planted broad beans was when we arrived to the land in September 2020. Unfortunately, the crop didn't make it during the winter, because I planted them too early, and they all died with the frosts. So this year I was committed to have a successful crop and decided to plant them, making sure that by the time they flowered, there would not be any more frosts. Some of the plants have been fighting aphids infestation, but I wanted to experiment and see how well or bad they will develop on their own without any of my help. We also found some ladybugs around the garden, which was a great sign, since ladybugs love to eat aphids. To my surprise, I had a really good harvest, and the plant protected itself, giving beautiful beans, even inside of the pots that look more damaged from the outside. Once everything was harvested, I threw the rest of the plant into our compost bin to continue creating soil for the future. This was my first time growing broad beans, and I was looking forward to experiment with them in the kitchen. This past month was definitely the month when everything found its own balance and flow. The garden was transitioning and was a period of change. As beautiful as it looked, it was time to say goodbye to what no longer served us and welcome with open arms to all the new possibilities for the next months. During this time, a lot of plants in the garden were going into flower to soon give seeds. Since last year I was able to harvest many seeds from our own plants, this year I decided to clear space in the garden before they went to seed, so I could start getting the summer crops ready. Nature is always in a state of dynamic flow, of giving and receiving, like today's lunch. The potatoes, beans and mint were all from the garden, and the rest was kindly given to us from our neighbors. The rest of the kitchen scraps went into our compost bin to create new life for the future soil. Today I'm going to continue transplanting the summer garden now that the third raised bed is ready. Yesterday I was watering the soil to make sure that it was all wet before I transplanted the seedlings. And I also spent the day trying to figure out how I'm going to transplant this year the bed, knowing what I know now after last year garden. Last year some of the plants were in shaded areas and didn't grow much until I was able to cut some of them, like the eggplants and peppers. So this year I want to give each plant its space and its good hours of sun to make sure that they thrive during the season. I'm going to show you and explain later how I did everything, in case that it could help you a little bit. I also make sure that each plant is in good combination and they like their companion. But before I start with that, I'm going to harvest some veggies. I started transplanting the tomatoes in the northern side of this garden bed, since they are going to be the tallest plants. I combined them with basil in the east side and with cosmos flowers in the west one. Last year we had cosmos flowers in this part of the garden, and they looked beautiful right by the entrance when we walked towards the cabin, so I wanted to replicate the same layout this year. I chose 3 different varieties of tomatoes: black cherry, costoluto, and one from our last Diaz garden. I then continued transplanting the peppers, which was a challenge because I forgot to change the pepper tag, and with the water the variety name washed out. But luckily enough, I found what I was looking for. At the southern side of the garden bed, I planted 2 kinds of flowers, marigold and echinaceas, along with chives, all in combination with eggplants. I also made different carrot seedlings that were transplanted near the peppers. And before I forget, between the tomatoes and the peppers, I planted these 2 kinds of zucchinis, along with some lettuces and tatsois. To end the day, we had a warm broth that I made with the vegetables I harvested from the garden that same day, and some free-range chicken from our neighbors. After a few hours of slow cooking, it was ready to be served. We topped it with fresh cabbage, chives and cilantro from the garden as well. The days went by really quickly. I had to clear some weeds from the outdoor area, harvested my first big batch of physalis, transplanted mint in a new location, and started drying them for tea. Since this is my first harvest of physalis, I wanted to save seeds for the future garden in the other part of the land. The way to get the seeds from it's really easy. inside of each fruit you will find tiny seeds that I will dry for a few days, and then I will keep it in a dry container until ready to use. To continue expanding the garden, I first moved the location of these dahlia bulbs, which looked beautiful last year in the garden, and it got me really excited to see they already sprouted. I follow the no-dig method in my garden, so I use this fork to give some structure to the soil and add earth. And since I started making my own bokashi compost from our food scraps, I added it to the soil as well. Then I covered everything with compost that I was able to get last year from a local farm. This will help improve the quality of our clay soil, because with years of adding layer after layer of organic matter, we will be able to nurture the soil, making it rich in nutrients and full of good bugs. In this garden bed, I will try to grow something I'm really excited about, loofahs. I have plans to build something for them to climb, and hopefully moving forward, I won't have to buy any more sponges for the dishes and the shower. Being able to have my own physalis seeds or drying my own tea has taken me over a year of work, but when I started all of this, I was focused on taking one baby step each day, because I knew that within a year I will have taken 365 steps towards the direction of a different way of living in this journey to live more in balance with planet Earth. So I hope this inspires you to pursue any dream you may have, and to remember you only need to take one baby step each day. This past week we also celebrated a big milestone with the channel we started all of this journey in December 2020. We were able to reach over 100,000 subscribers. And although I believe that we are much more than what a number or a label can represent, we take this chance to be the light to inspire you to truly believe in yourself and the capability you have within yourself to accomplish everything you wish. Never underestimate your creative power. Believe in yourself to create the life